Well, hello, everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Prioritizing your spending habits. This especially applies to things like when you're really, well, it applies to whatever your situation is financially. So if money is tight, obviously you're going to have to prioritize. But if you're trying to get out of debt, or you're trying to save money to purchase a piece of land, or you're trying to put up for hard times, like building your food storage and putting in different infrastructures for gardens, for collecting your own rainwater or a well. I always forget to talk about wells. Wells are real things. And if you have the ability to do that, now we can't do that right here where we're at least not legally. And I'm not even sure about on the other piece of property, or even getting a wood stove that's a multi-purpose off-griddy kind of thing that can handle a lot of jobs during a power outage, be it long-term, short-term, doesn't matter. Let's start with, I was listening to this lady, and now I feel bad because I can't remember the name of her channel. I just kind of stumbled across her. She had this, she was covering all these different frugal type points, etc. And some of them I couldn't agree with, but I understood them. But one of the things she mentioned is about how when we think we're doing good financially, when we budget our money, let's say we're paying all our bills first, and we're being diligent, and we're making sure and responsible, we're making sure that we're getting those bills paid. Then whatever's left over goes into savings. Well, she brought up a really excellent point. And I guess I've never really thought of it this way before. I have in a sense. And what she said was, you'll find people who prioritize their savings first, set aside an allotted, pick an allotted amount of savings. Now, this will apply to paying off the debt. So, that's kind of what we did when we decided to start paying down the debt on our house. There was a certain amount I was determined I was going to pay every month, and then anything extra I could throw on there. If I found out I could, I would, but I definitely at first allotted a certain amount. The same thing applies with savings. So let's say I'm going to put aside $100, $200, $500 a month. That should be done first. Get that put in a safe spot, or get that invested in your food storage, etc. Whether it be, having envelopes or cans or something that you have marked, and this money's for this money's for that, etc., etc. And then what happens is, this just makes perfect sense. Obviously you're going to have to look at your budget. What is your average? I would say, what is the lowest amount of income that you have in a month? Typically the lowest. Like when you have a channel like mine, it can go up and down. Right now it's staying pretty much right down here, but there was a time where it was up here. And you never know from month to month what exactly it's going to be. It could suddenly drop down to just a few dollars. And so I have to be prepared for that. But that's why I say that. Sometimes your monthly income can be a bit variable, especially if you're a business owner of any kind. And I've been a business owner for, since I was 22, 23, when I started teaching dance. That was my first business I got going, and then the martial arts, and then we've had other businesses. And so, yeah, income is variable. So if you can at least have a base and know, okay, what is the least amount I'm likely to make? Take that and then break it up, and then set that savings right at the top. That savings, that principal payment, that whatever it is. Get that where it needs to go first. Then what will happen is you're going to find that all the rest of your bills, obviously you have to decide whatever this top amount is based on what that income, that lowest possible monthly income is. And then make sure that you can pay all these bills. But then once you have that set, you're going to be less likely to, okay, so you've paid this amount to your principal, to your savings, to your, different funds that you're trying to save up money for. And now you're going to pay all your bills. And then if anything's left, sure, either put more of that in savings or spend it on something else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with adding a little joy now and then. But what will happen if you go the other way, the way that we most likely are going to think is a responsible way, let's pay all the bills first, and then whatever's left, we'll put into savings. Well, what tends to happen with a lot of people is, I used to be this way when I was much younger. Whatever's left over, I can buy myself some clothes or whatever. I might have had an idea to save it, but I usually ended up wasting it on something rather than being more forward thinking and planning ahead. With the extra buy ice cream, that's what Mr. Rain would say for sure. Or at least buy the heavy whipping cream, etc., for making the ice cream. Since we haven't bought ice cream in a while because I've been making it now. Oh, so good. But I try to even limit how much of that I do. Let's see. Most 30-year mortgages can be paid off in half the time with only a $50 payment increase each month. Wow. See, I wish we would have gotten to that same mindset at a much younger age. It was mostly me. I was more the spendthrift. I was frugal in a lot of other ways, but then I could nickel and dime us to death. That was the number one thing I wanted to say because I thought it was an excellent tip, and I don't recall ever hearing anyone put it that way before. So that was point number 1. And point number 2, figuring out where you're hemorrhaging money. Because this is something that, I think everyone all through the ages has probably had this issue, but I think it's especially bad now. I think we're far more likely to be hemorrhaging money, and I say it that way because of the way it's happening, because we can have money just going places and not even realize where it's going or forget. So in this day of subscription services, everything, a lot of times people will sign up for subscription services and not even realize they've done it or forget about it and never use it. And so this money keeps going out, keeps getting drawn out of their accounts every month. And I know that there's like different apps you can get that can, I don't know if they're free or not. Hopefully they are, but that will go through. I guess my son tried this because he was trying to figure out, okay, where's all my money going? Is there something I'm missing? And it will find all your different subscription services and then ask you if you want to cancel these. And so that's what he did. And he canceled a bunch of things that he had forgotten or didn't realize he had to really cut back and save some money. And so that's why I word it that way. But for those of us who aren't big into a lot of subscription services, then maybe it's just, okay, let's take a step back and start writing down, what did I spend? Kind of like, when people talk about finding out where all your calories are going when you're trying to lose weight. Okay, write down everything you ate today and then take a look at it and go, oh, wow, I ate that. I didn't know I ate that. Wow, I consumed a lot more calories than I thought I did. You'll find that you'll very likely do the same thing with your money. Once you're able to find the source of the hemorrhage and stop it, you'll find that now you're going to have more money that you can then put on the principal, put into savings, put towards building your food storage and your garden and your farm and whatever it is that your desire is to help get yourself into a better position all the way around. Or like I said, saving money to buy a piece of property, so that you can expand. That's what we did down here. The other 2 pieces of property we've purchased since I've had my channel. It was saving money, and then when the right piece came up and we had the cash for it because we refused to go back into debt for anything, bam, we had it. We had the funds, there's cash. And that just worked really good. Of course, it helped that our house was paid off by this point, so we didn't have that monthly payment. But every payment that you can, you might think this is only like $5 a month or $20 a month, but that adds up. And if you have a whole bunch of those going on, just like that I always say this, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of beating a dead horse with this one, but it's always one of the ones that comes to my mind because it shocked me. And I realized how much money people spend on coffee stand coffees every day or every week or every month. I mean, I used to think, okay, maybe people get like 5 total in a week, one a day. And those things can range anywhere from 5. I think 5 is cheap now. I mean, I'm guessing some of them are probably up to $10. I don't know. I bought a couple years ago just for the heck of it, just to try it. And I'm like, okay, that was okay, but I still don't understand why everybody's so dependent on buying these things when you can just make something similar at home, or going out to eat. For a lot of people, it's just a habit is what we do, especially if you got both people working outside the home and everybody's too tired and exhausted. And that's another topic I want to cover at some point, is being a one income household and how you can, even today, there's reasons why it's much harder to make it work today, but I still strongly believe you can make it work when you start looking at all the money that you spend when both, especially if you're parents and you have young kids. Are you having to pay daycare or, some kind of childcare for those kids? Are you having to eat out because nobody has time to cook? Or buy a subscription service like HelloFresh or something, because at least that's the next best thing to, is kind of that step between eating out all the time and then actually cooking from scratch. Going into debt with credit cards is a big problem with a lot of people. I think it's much bigger now than it used to be. So many don't think they have to work within their budget. I've been watching a lot of these different channels that talk about financial stuff and the way people are spending money. And it just kind of shocked me how people are, I think I said this last week, going on vacations, not even paying any attention to how much money they have, how much money they're making, or how much money they're putting on their credit cards. Because it's like, you only live once. That is literally the attitude. And they have no idea how they get back. They don't have any clue how much money they spent. Man, when we would go on vacation, it was like watching every penny, allotting a certain amount. And, some for just splurging, some for fuel, something. And we didn't do anything fancy. The fanciest thing we did was Creation Fest for a few years, which, was like a 3 or 4 day event, something like that, where you went and you got to listen to a whole bunch of Christian bands and speakers and camp out. And it was a lot of fun. It was something a little more wholesome we could do with the kids. Really enjoyed that. And to me, I was scared because it seemed like such a massive expense. Looking back now, I'm like, that is nothing compared to what people are paying to take trips to Hawaii and to Disneyland or Disney World, which we never have done any of those. And not dogging on anyone that has or does, but especially any of the Disney stuff, I think it's an absolute waste of money, but personal opinion, nobody get mad at me. We use our credit card to pay everything. We get a small percentage of using the card and we pay it off every single month. Same. We do the same. And you've got to be able to really pay attention to your spending. Don't spend the money. I know Deb knows this, but I'm saying this to anybody that's listening is like, oh, I can just use my credit card for anything. If you don't have the willpower and that money isn't already in your account to pay off whatever it is you decide to purchase, no, don't do it. The money has to be there because otherwise it really is debt. We use our credit card to buy pretty much everything we can for the same reason. And we've had that same credit card for I don't know how many years now and have not paid a single cent in interest. But what you'll find is any of these credit cards where you get a percentage back like ours, and then we cash it in and it goes on whatever's, when I go to pay the bill, I'll let it build up for a while. And then when I go to make my payment that month, I'll look and see if there enough in there to bother with it. Oh, cash that in, have that go on the bill, and then pay off the rest. And then that way, yeah, it's just another way you can actually earn some money while you're, so that does work for some people, but it's not going to work for everyone because not everyone has the willpower to do that. And some people should never have credit cards. I've been to both Disneyland and Disney World. Full deal with total access to all rides was under $50. Really? Because what I've heard, I mean, man, you could pay $50 for a doggone lollipop there now. I might be exaggerating, but some of the food is like, I guess some of it's good. I guess some of it's just kind of, you could get something just as good anywhere else and pay a fraction of the price, just because they put Mickey Mouse ears on it or something. See, I keep a notebook and write down all weekly expenses. Okay, so that actually was my third point. Before I finish off this topic, is I did a video on this several years ago, but some of the things in there are going to be different than what's on there now. So here's a blank. Oh, you won't be able to see it. The light's too bright. Can I hold it up? And you can't see it. I have this just on my computer, and then I have it divided up into 4 parts so that I'm only using a quarter of a piece of paper every time. And then I just print this off, and I usually try not to print off too many at a time in case I need to make any changes. But I used to have like the amounts typed in here so that when I printed off, those amounts were in here. But one by one, I eventually just started taking them off. And the reason why is because things changed. Just like for the phones, that price is different now because I was just saying it's $30 less than it once was. So this is where I keep track of the bills. I put a check mark when I paid them. And when the payment has come through, I then scratch the whole thing off. And then over here is, I have checking written down, but the number I put here is only the number that is going to be after whatever I want to keep saved in the checking account. And then I'll have like my total bills and then my balance and see what's left over. And I always like my balance to be whatever's remaining to also be a certain amount extra to cover any added expenses. And then I like to have all this extra space down here. Like I'll write the month that I'm in, and then down here, there'll be bills that I'll write in bills that are once a year, twice a year, such as property taxes are once a year. Oh, this is the month I pay the property taxes. Write that in there. This is the month I pay the auto insurance. Write that in. And we don't do month by month payments on any of this stuff. We pay a lump sum and get it done. And typically what you'll find too, especially like with insurance, if you can pay that lump sum, the whole thing for the whole policy period, you're typically going to get a discount. I didn't used to do it that way back in the day. I paid month by month and then was paying that little bit of service fee every month. So there's another way you can save money is if you can get yourself to a point where you're just paying that lump sum and get it out of the way, then you're saving a small percentage. And those, again, the nickels and dimes do add up. And then I do have miscellaneous too. And usually that's where I write in, okay, so this charge, this charge, this charge. Now I know that there's also this coming in, and that's where I put the miscellaneous. Certain expenses that came up, whatever it was, like we've got a family reunion, gathering coming in August, and we needed some new lawn furniture for out there, a new tether ball. The other tether ball is just destroyed now because we don't remember to take it down every year. So, at the end of the season. Things like that. So we're preparing for that and just kind of getting things fixed up. And so, okay, it's a little added expense, and I write that in. Keep track. Having a monthly or weekly ledger will help keep you on track and always keep checking that thing. I don't check it every week like I once used to because I pretty much know where I'm at. And then I have another ledger where I have my totals of how much is saved. And then even this little notebook, the little pocket is where I keep these things. And this little notebook is what I use as for when I do have to write checks. It's my checking ledger too. I don't use the one that they used to give you with your checkbooks. This works better for me because I have all this in one little notebook. And I found this little notebook at a garage sale. Actually, the budgeting like that was something I started as soon as I left home, maybe even before I left home and went off to college. So I could always keep track and make sure I didn't forget something important. And how, it was especially those bills that are, like I said, the property taxes and things like that aren't monthly, you're more likely to forget those are coming up. And so a lot of times, so this is another reason why I like having several months of these printed off at a time, and I'll write in the months. I just printed these off. That's why they're totally blank. And I can go ahead to, okay, this is the month this such and such thing is due, and write that in. And that way I'm not surprised when it comes up. Guess that's it. So I hope you guys all have a great week. Take care, and God bless all.